Okay, let us examine this very interesting pet feeder dispenser as shown here. So it says that when he closes the switch, a fixed amount of pet food automatically drops down from the container into the tray whenever it is empty. So how do we visualize, how does this thing work? So firstly, you must notice there's a battery here, and there's a switch here, and there's a spring here. So you visualize when it is empty, yeah? Okay, because if it is empty, the spring will extend, right, higher, right? And this tray is connected to the metal contacts. So when it's empty, this part will form a closed circuit. Current will flow through this. You notice this is iron rod with coil of wire here. And let me enlarge bigger. This will be magnetized. So part Q, we imagine that it is a magnetic material. So it will be attracted towards the right when this is being magnetized. So as it shifts, right, it opens up. Okay. Can you see the cover? They say can slide to open, can slide to the right to open. Because it's attracted by this electromagnet, it will slide to the right. So as it opens, the foot will drop down, right? Right? So the foot will drop down. When it becomes heavier, the reverse thing happens. The spring will be compressed. So this will leave a open circuit. So we leave an open circuit will be demagnetized. This will go back. Okay, this is no longer attract. So we may expect there may be a spring mechanism attaching part Q. So it will spring back. So this is state a physical property of part Q. Okay, the only thing I don't quite like is they use this word physical. This may confuse the student. Okay, in your school, I don't think they teach you physical and chemical properties, right? So if I were an examiner, I would just put state a property that part Q allows. So the property is it is magnetic. Okay, so the property is magnetic. Or it is a magnetic material. Okay, then part B, they say explain how the pet feeder dispenser works to allow the pet food to fall after the switch is closed. Okay, after the switch is closed. So you must explain this part. They say when it's empty, right? You look at the question here. Pet food drop automatically in the container whenever it is empty. Okay, think of this as empty. So you must say when it's empty or when the tray is empty, the spring will push up part P. Okay, this part P to form a closed circuit. Electric current flows through. Iron rod magnetized to be electromagnet, then attract part Q, which opens the cover, the foot drops down. So you take some time to copy this. I try to enlarge the words so you can see clearer. Okay, I try to write in point form so that it's easier to understand. Okay. So I'll repeat, when the tray is empty, the spring will push up part P to form a closed circuit. Comma. Electric current flows through full stop. Iron rod magnetized to be electromagnet. Then attract part Q, which opens the cover, the foot drops down. So I will screenshot this and send to you all shortly while you get the answer down. Check. Okay, send over this. Okay, next. Okay, next they say suggest a change to the spring so that more pet food can be dropped and collected in the tray. Okay, do you need explanation? So if you look at the setup again, how can I allow more food to be collected? So I erase all these things again. So you have a closer examination. Okay, now I want more food to be collected. Okay, you see, the only thing is when the tray is empty, right? Then the food starts to drop. So I want more food to be collected. That's why I want to delay something. Okay, I want to delay what? I want to delay this part, right? To open up. Okay, I want to delay. So how do I delay? Okay, notice there's a spring here, right? So usually this question is either you use a less stiff spring or use a stiffer spring. So you must think this way. I want to collect more food lah. Okay, I want to collect more food before the gap open. That's why I want to make it more difficult to what? More difficult to leave the gap. That means the spring here must be more difficult to compress, right? Because I don't want the gap to open up so fast. So I must make this spring more difficult to be compressed. Okay, that means I must use a stiffer spring. Okay, so the answer is make the spring stiffer or use a stiffer spring. Okay, notice you need to explain. Okay, the explanation is more food will be needed to compress the springs to open the electric circuit. So that's the explanation. Okay, make the spring stiffer or use a stiffer spring. What's the reason? More food will be needed to compress the spring to open the electric circuit. Okay, so you take note of this explanation. Okay, now it's 515. Okay, notice the student gets 0 mark. A bit pity. Out of 5 marks, the student gets 0 mark for this question. So I hope that you can learn from this mistake. Oh, actually, the first one, she shouldn't get it wrong because it's just state. So she'll be magnetic. And then explaining, now you understand how it works, right? Yeah. So let's continue the next question. Okay, I want to show you, you look at this one, and those students who joined me earlier, I actually presented another question. That's why I show you One Academy. This one is another pet feeder. Okay, you notice this one, right? This one is I put it here in my training worksheet. This one works the opposite way. This one is when, okay, look at here. Okay, when it's empty, right? When it's empty, because the same thing, the spring back, right? They form a closed circuit. Can you see this part? Part Q allows the current to flow through. So this is magnetized. But instead of attracting this object, this one become pushed away. Okay, that means object P is being repelled. That means object P is a magnet. Okay, you notice here when the food is on the tray, right? The spring get compressed. So when the spring get compressed, this part will leave a gap. So current cannot flow through, it'll be demagnetized. So demagnetized, there's a, can you see here, there's a ball bearing attached to the magnet. This one, so this one spring back. Because this no longer is a magnet, because it's been demagnetized. Okay, so you must observe, sometimes the object is a magnet, sometimes it's a magnetic substance. So in this example, object P, you can try the question here, because I asked you this question. Object P is a magnet, explain why. So you must mention that when the circuit is closed, right, the iron rod repels object P. Only magnet can be repelled. So that's how you answer this question. Okay, so you take note of the comparison, then you try to answer these questions yourself, and I would go through with you maybe next week. Okay, so now we take a short break. We come back in about 6 to 7 minutes time. See you later.